It always comes to this. More nice shit. Hello there guys, back into another tattoo progress update today. Where I last left off, I showed off some of this stuff in here on my inner bicep area with Rick, and a little bit of the front area as well. This side from last week is all healed up. It's not as dry and shiny anymore, still a little bit, but much truer to what it will look like now. Sometimes that chapped outer layer of the skin kind of discolors the actual color, gives it more of kind of like a frosting, and can take away some of the saturation, or at least to the eye. And so once that final kind of dryness goes away, you get a better reveal of what the color is going to look like. So very happy with how that did overall. And then obviously this is not peeled yet, but it's got that dry, crispy kind of exterior to it now, and there's no pain to the touch. I would wager that within the next few hours that will start that'll start flaking off, and I don't think it's going to be a whole ton different than what we have on the other side. The black and the reddy pink has kind of mixed together a little bit, and when that peels, it will be a lot lighter, and that's just the way it is whenever you're using black and color together. A lot of artists, they like to do, they'll outline it first or whatever, then they'll pat the color way later, where Rick, he tends to use black and color sort of as he goes, and so the top layer might get a little bit muddy, but unless you've really fucked someone up, you shouldn't be having the problem that people think. Say you wipe a darker color into a lighter color, and now the lighter color is going to get dark ink in it, and it'll heal muddy. It's really just for the photo that you take after that's going to be an issue. It's the same idea with these ink baths that you'll see. People like pour black ink all over a fresh blackout. I think that's just superstitious nonsense. If you've really put holes in the skin deep enough that ink is going to get in there without being penetrated by a needle, I think you've done more damage than you have, or than you should have, and most of that surface layer is just staining. So while it makes for a fun video, I don't actually think that matters at all. And for example, if you look at the fresh Mind Flayer that Alex did on me a few weeks ago, there was a bit of black ink in the pink, and when it healed, all that black ink on the surface was gone, as I expected it would be. Even her, though, she was a little bit sensitive to it. She thought maybe that it was going to affect things, but I told her the same thing. Like, unless you've really, really dug someone in deep, and you have some deep, deep open holes in there, that black ink will not have gotten that far into the skin just because you wiped it over that pink. It's just not going to happen. And like I said, if it does happen, then that's a sign of worse things than having some black in your pink. Obviously, the Mind Flayer is healed now, and none of that was an issue. So, same thing. Some of the black ink got wiped into some of the more beigey kind of skin tones that she used, and all of that healed out as well. So, yeah, food for thought, and my little opening rant there. I expect that, obviously, by the time I talk to you guys next, this will be fully peeled, and we will have this much lighter pink that we have over here, with maybe some variants. I find the inner stretch of this takes a little bit easier than the outer. Could be a case of having more scar tissue or just thicker skin in there, but whatever the case, I like how this looks. So if it's as good as that or better, perfect. So last week I had 3 sessions, and thankfully I only have 2 this week. I think 3 is too many for me currently. I don't know if I'll ever be at a point in my life where I want to do 3 every week. It's crazy to me to think that there was a time when I was doing 3 to 5 sessions every week, but 2 is plenty, and 2 feels nice and where I'm at right now. I could even see doing one theoretically soon. It's just a lighter load, and especially because I'm very busy usually. Healing three in three different places felt like work, and so this week feels much lighter. And I did have a session, obviously, with Terry today. You'll have already seen in the thumbnail. It was one that I was actually, for all kinds of reasons, not in a hurry to do. And not the least of which, I will say, because I don't talk about pain very often, but I don't enjoy having my neck tattooed, ever. It is not one of the most painful places. It's not even in my top 20. But it's always uncomfortable. I always feel uncomfortable when I'm getting my neck tattooed. No matter how many times I've done this, and my neck has been tattooed over 30 times. No exaggeration at all. I could be undercutting saying 30 by now. I don't even know. I've kind of lost track, believe it or not, but it is easily north of 30. And there was a year in, I think it was 2020 to 20 or 2022 to 2023, that era of my journey, when I had something like 20 sessions on my neck. And so, anyway, last year I only had a few sessions on my neck. That's a fun thing to say. But I was okay with that. I had to change all of the thorns. They all went gold, like my arm, and they were white. That was done twice. The red was gone back into, and we added dark shadows around the roses, which we'll probably still do a little bit of when we hit the gold and the thorns again. We'll probably do that then, just to get it more to the place that we got these roses on my arm at. Now, there isn't as much space on my neck to do that as there was on my arm, but I think a little bit of black will go a long way. With that said, we also did 2 full passes last year on the color on my neck, and those were 3 passes of white and black on black prior. And prior to that, black on black roses. So this is a long storied evolution, even just over the blackout. That doesn't factor in any of what was done, and there was a lot done on my neck prior to the blackout, and then I think we blacked out my neck fully 3 times. So, and that took some doing. So yeah, my neck is, I don't know if it's one of the most tattooed spots on my body, but it's up there. With that said, it's never pleasant. So that was one reason why I put it off. I started the rose 3rd pass and the bright red on my arm back in March, April of this year. And I think we finished all of that up in May. And then we even did the droplets on the side head roses before doing them on my neck. And it's for a similar reason to why I was apprehensive to color these. And these have only been done one time with color. They will go again as well. But part of the reason why I didn't want to do my neck anytime right away is because it's been about 1.5 years now since the 2nd pass, and I have the dates. I can show you guys when I did it, the date, for the people who think that this stuff goes away overnight. But I am very, very tired of people saying that I'm always touching my work up. And I know people will say you shouldn't care what people say, but you know, I would have killed to have the open source of information that I am providing this community every week, liberally, free of charge for anyone who wants to know. Open, honest, and what colors are used, how long it's been between passes, needle groupings sometimes, you know, like the artists that did it, how long they've been tattooing. All of these things I give completely free, and I don't expect any payment for. And you know what? I would have paid someone to share secrets with me early on, because believe it or not, it would have been very helpful not to have to find out myself. Now, that said, it's nice to find out some things yourself. There's an experience of like the journey and learning things, and like the experimentation is fun, sure. And I like the fact that you know, I've had to kind of figure it out, but there were all kinds of things that I could have saved time with and had certainty of before I started, you know, testing on myself. Had there been anything like my vlogs or my React series when I started, and there wasn't. And so many people will Lucky Diamond Rich should be mentioned. Whenever I get tagged in something online, someone will try and pull him up as an example of someone who did this long before me. But he's not an example of that, because none of what he did was above board, explained, or in any way available to the public. So for all intents and purposes, this vlog series has been the most inclusive and explanatory thing you can find on this. And I'm happy that that's the way it is, but I wish it wasn't, right? I wish that I had a resource when I was starting this. And now I'm happy to say that if people want to know, they can very easily find out. So to bring all of this back to these roses that are glowing and fucking way, way brighter than they were last pass, by the way, and that's not a surprise to me. I am very sick of people saying that I am getting my work touched up all the time. People will say I'm not a good example of this work because I'm constantly having it touched up. That is not the case. I have not done a single touch-up. I don't know if I've ever done a touch-up on anything. Maybe the black stars on my face because they were done by a guy who shouldn't have done them a million years ago, before they were roses. Before they were black and white on black roses, before they were color on black roses. But I don't do touch-ups. And you can go, okay, well, yeah, changes, whatever, use whatever. No, I don't do touch-ups, okay? I have said 2 to 3 passes minimum for what you want to do. After that, if I change it, that's not because it was going to go away. I'm not changing it out of need because the tattoo is vanishing. This is about 1.5 years now, but it's had 3 passes. Those were not touch-ups. When I committed to doing the first pass on that, that was me committing to doing 2 to 3 passes. As I recommend very openly to anyone doing this work, you will not find a video anywhere in my library, even if you try, where I tell you that 1 pass is enough. I have never once said it, and I never will. So if you don't want to look into it, don't talk about it. But I'm not having secret sessions where I touch my body up. Every single tattoo session that I've had for the last at least 4 years, and before that 2 years, since I've been on YouTube, I took a little bit of break in 2020, has been documented and explained step by step. So the only way to argue with me about whether this works or what it heals like or ages like is ignorance. And that's not an argument. Being ignorant to this is not an argument when it's in the public domain. You could have made that argument when there was no information, but now there's information on all platforms. And I've made it readily available to anybody who can pay attention for more than 13 seconds. Now, I know that in our modern age, that is a fucking superpower. That's another problem. I think that people are very incapable of focusing, especially on things that they don't care that much about. So I get that that's not just a tattoo-related problem. That's a huge problem for humanity in general. Even the fact that when Reels debuted, overall creator insights would say that the average view length of a reel was between 10 to 14 seconds. Well, now it's 3 to 4. You can say that you can blame TikTok or, well, whatever you want, but whatever you want to say about that, people's attention span has gotten lower, and it's sharply dropping fast. So I can appreciate, and I've also said this, that a journey like what I've done, even saying my legs being a great example of this, 2 to 3 passes is all it takes to get a color on black tattoo to work. That's more than most people will budget for. And I don't mean money-wise. I mean time-wise and patience-wise. This is why you have things like anesthetic tattoo. That would not have existed, and that's why it didn't exist years ago, because people were here for the journey. There's a reason why the tattoo journey was a buzz thing. It was a buzz phrase, right? People wanted the journey. That it was as important or more important as the tattoo they were trying to get. Right? You would go on a journey. Now it's like, how fucking fast and easy can I get this thing done? And you'll see all kinds of people say that Yeah, that's all good and fine for Remy because he owns a tattoo shop and he doesn't pay for his tattoos. Neither of those are true, and I had a multi-layer bodysuit before I was even involved in this shop. Before I even met the owner of this shop, I already had a full bodysuit. So it's like, you want to learn a little bit about what you're talking about before you start flapping off. And it's not like it's not available in the public domain. I don't own this shop, and I still pay for every session. What I have had abundance of is not money, it's patience. And I hate to break it to you guys, but 3 sessions for a cover-up is a lot fucking faster than laser removal in a cover-up would be. And I know this because I do laser removal. It's a fucking long road. So it's not a magic eraser. There's no fast track to this. If you don't want a cover-up, then don't get one. But it's going to be a few layers. So with that said, the pre-layering of this rose neck mantle that I have here, none of that is necessary to get these colors. Those were done because I enjoy being tattooed and I wanted to change things. So the idea that you would have to go white over the black first to get the color is nonsense, and I've disproven that. So those are not necessary passes to get this color. I just, at that time, wanted white and black on black. I also didn't understand how much better color would work over black at that point, because up until that point, and still, in most people's mind, the only thing you can use over black is white, which is, of course, hilarious, because as my work has demonstrated, and what we found out here at the shop is, white actually packs over black worse than anything. And all of the other colors we've used has been better and more consistent over black. But at the time when we started, it was like popular belief that the best and perhaps only thing that would show other than black would be white. So we didn't start getting into color until well after we did that. And I was always more of a color guy anyway. If you look at my first bodysuit, you can see that. Even all the tentacles and stuff on my front, that was all supposed to be colored in. The artist that did it he didn't have the patience, ironically, to do it. So that could be on both sides of the needle. He had a lot of vision and no ability to execute it, and kind of gave up midway. But that's a whole other story that I've told on this channel multiple times. With that said, these roses, as I said earlier, they were never this bright on a second pass. This is not a touch-up. They looked great in the last vlog. You can go back and watch my last vlog, and you can easily see that they looked fine. This, I waited so long to do this because I'm sick of people saying that I'm getting touch-ups, and I know that the minute this goes up, people go, oh, no, Remy touched up his neck again. No, it's not a fucking touch-up, bonehead. This was the planned third pass. You can go back and watch the video where I discussed the second pass, and I mentioned doing a third pass then. So I gave it a long time, and that's for all kinds of reasons. And I feel like the longer you leave in between the second and third pass, the better the result is anyway. But this will be as good as the roses on my arms now, right? So the roses on my head have only been done twice. They could probably still be a little bit better, but I'm in no real hurry. I can pick away at that. With that said, I'm glad this session is behind me. And I do anticipate people to do the same thing they always do. But I am public with every session I have with you guys. And whether people pay attention to the details or not is completely out of my hands. But ignorance is not an argument against my work or anything that happens at the shop. With that said, I have another lighter week next week, 2 sessions, one with Rick, one with Terry. And my one with Terry could be one of 2 different things. It depends on my mood. But neither will be as extensive as this one. This took about 3.5 hours, I want to say, to do. Next week, I think we're banking on a bit of a shorter session, but nonetheless impactful in either case. I will be talking to you guys here again soon. Have a great day.